Welcome to the Freedom Chronicles.
Definitely an antisocial type.
Only a few generations have been granted the role of defending freedom in its hour of maximum danger.
Hi, perhaps you recognize me. It's your favorite president.
In this present crisis, government is not the solution to our problem. Government is the problem.
We got a loudspeaker here, and when we go into battle, we play music very loud.
With a firm reliance on the protection of divine providence, we mutually pledge to each other our lives, our fortunes, and our sacred honor.
Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the Freedom Chronicles. I'm your host, Mike Imbasciani. Thank you for joining us in another episode. We are, of course, broadcasting from the Brian Chapman State Farm bunker right here in Southwest Florida. And like a good neighbor, Brian Chapman State Farm is there for all of the insurance needs that you have for your very own bunker. Give us office a call at 941-625-9998 or visit the office at 2040 Tamiami Trail in Port Charlotte. With me, as always, Mr. Ken Lovejoy.
Hi.
Ken, how are you, sir?
Hi.
Doing well?
Yeah.
It's another day.
It is.
It's good.
Hump day, though.
Yeah, it's true.
You know, hey, made it through halfway through another week without getting nuked.
Right? I mean, there's still a chance, but it's not as bad.
Got to look on the bright side of life.
Yes. Of course. Quite a week of news, I will say.
Indeed.
And nothing that we didn't already know.
Confirmation.
Exactly. It's a week of
this is when the
affirmations,
conspiracy theorists like ourselves are vindicated.
Right. Exactly.
We were right all along.
All the time. We give ourselves a round of applause.
And we should.
As we should. So it would seem, the Monday's report of the special counsel John Durham on the FBI's investigation of the false Russia collusion allegations.
Lies! Seize them!
The allegation, it vindicates, like you said, reporting and analysis from March of 2017 by conservative radio host Mark Levin. Let's dive into this. On his March 2nd, 2017 broadcast, Mark Levin pieced together evidence from published reports in the mainstream media to deduce that law enforcement and intelligence agencies had spied on President Donald Trump. In summary, this is I have to do my best, Mark Levin. In summary. Yes. The Obama administration sought and eventually obtained authorization to eavesdrop on the Trump campaign, continued monitoring the Trump team even when no evidence of wrongdoing was found, then relaxed the NSA rules to allow evidence to be shared widely within the government, virtually ensuring that the information, including the conversations of, I got to get the banging on the desk right, on the the conversations of private citizens would be leaked to the media. Levin called the effort a silent coup by the Obama administration and demanded that it be investigated. The Breitbart news story reportedly made it to the Oval Office, and President Trump responded with a tweet that provoked sensational media coverage. On March 4th, 2017, terrible. Just found out Obama had my wires tapped in Trump Tower just before the victory. Nothing found. This is McCarthyism.
No, it was a soft coup.
It was a soft coup. And that came out again Monday. And it just showed, but what are they going to do about it? That's the problem.
Oh, nothing. First of all, I'm really surprised that Durham is finished.
Yeah.
I thought he would drag this out another couple of years, get past the 2024. I got to the point to where it just appeared. And again, when you read the 300 pages, which I haven't read all, I've read summaries that Sundance posted on Conservative Treehouse, but because it's a lot, it goes in depth, but all the highlights indicate that, all these people lied through their teeth, and
nobody's going after them.
No,
because they're not going to investigate.
It was
themselves.
almost like a Comey type of,
Right.
Yeah. Oh yeah, guilty as hell. But we're not going to do about it.
No, of course not. So we have a guest with us today.
Do we?
Yes. Author and speaker and creator of the Frederick Douglass Republican Engagement Strategy.
Oh, cool.
Mr. K. Carl Smith is with us, and we'd like to bring him in. K. Carl, can you hear us all right? So, K. Carl Smith, thank you for joining us here on the show. And we were just talking about all the fun stuff that Trump has been vindicated with, of all the nonsense from the Durham report there. But tell us about you. What got you started with this Frederick Douglass Republican Engagement Strategy, and why did you choose to start that?
Well, I got sick and tired of being called Uncle Tom, actually. When you tell somebody you're a conservative, basically because the left has demonized that word so effectively, you just admitted that you're a racist or that you are a sellout to your community. And so therefore, you're on the defense. You can't have a healthy atmosphere for political discourse. You're always trying to prove you're not a racist, or you try to prove you're not an Uncle Tom. So therefore, you're not on the offense, and you can't win unless you're on the offense, right? So because of that frustration, I just sat down and started figuring out. I said, look, if we can't trump the race card, pun intended, if we can't win the narrative and change hearts and minds, as conservatives, we don't have a way to win this nation. I mean, we got to be able to change hearts and minds and articulate our values in a way where we have conversations and not confrontations. So that's what made me go with this. And what happened basically, because of God nudging my spirit, we created a persuasive messaging model that you mentioned. It's called the Frederick Douglass Republican Engagement Strategy. It is based on the liberty message of Frederick Douglass. It is also based on the diversity outreach strategy of the Apostle Paul. When you think about it, the Apostle Paul was a diversity outreach specialist, okay? And it's based on the outreach ministry of Jesus Christ. So when you put those three together, and you know how to leverage this messaging model that we created, you're unstoppable. And man, you can change hearts and minds. You can trump the race card, and anybody can do it, because to become a Frederick Douglass Republican is not based on your skin color. It's based on what we call the life empowering values of Douglass. So if you agree with these values, that's what makes you a Frederick Douglass Republican. They are respect for the U.S. Constitution, respect for life, the belief in limited power of government, economic prosperity, which are free capitalist, free market system, free speech, religious liberty, legal immigration, parental school choice, the right of people keep and bear arms, the right to vote. Frederick Douglass wrote and spoke about all those values that we call the 12 life empowering values of Douglass. And so when you leverage what a runaway slave had to say about those values, it resonates with people, because what? The left can't play the race card on Douglass. You can't call Douglass a racist. He was a victim of racism. He wasn't a slave owner. He was a slave. So in Douglass's writings and his speeches, he affirmed the founding fathers. He affirmed the Constitution, and he wrote about those issues as being attacked today. Those values have been attacked. Those tenets of liberty I just mentioned, they're being attacked. But we have a former slave who wrote about them. And when you leverage that, checkmate, game over with. The left has no answer for Frederick Douglass, and they never will.
How has now? Where do you take your message?
All across the country. Those who have ears, let them hear. Primarily, what we have been doing, I've been doing this for about 13 years.
Wow.
Below the radar, but my strategy has been to preach to the conservative choir and teach and train the choir how to go out and bring in new choir members that's more diverse. Teaching and empowering conservatives how to become influencers in their communities, and empowering them to have conversation with people and giving them a new song to sing. And we call it a Frederick Douglass Republican melody, basically. And so we go everywhere. I've been to black churches. I've spoken to been invited to NAACP meetings because they've been curious about our messaging strategy, who I am as a Republican. So we're all over the country with this. There's nowhere we don't go.
That's awesome.
That's fantastic. And you have your book here too, Frederick Douglass Republicans, the movement to reignite America's passion for liberty. And I think that's what it's all about. That goes into what we're trying to do on this show, of the whole get loud locally mentality, because it's about, yes, we preach to the choir all day long. We have our fans and friends of the show and in our personal lives, that it can become an echo chamber unless you're actively trying to reach out to people who don't agree with you. Like a couple weeks ago, we had an 18-year-old who started a Republican club in his high school with major pushback, but he got it through. And he just, I think last week, went to the other high school in town here and handed out pamphlets to those students. It's getting that outreach. And when people understand history, they understand why Frederick Douglass is so important. I mean, he's not a Democrat. Even on the ever so left Wikipedia, they can't lie. His political party is Republican. It's understanding that it's the Republicans that ended slavery, and understanding history and what Frederick Douglass has done.
Yeah, but that was all nice, Mike. But that was before we switched sides.
Big switch, of course.
We switched sides.
Yeah. That's what they say. Yeah.
I know.
Right.
I can't. Just on the face of it, it's just the dumbest thing I've ever heard. But how has your message been received when you go to the black churches and the NAACP meetings? Because you're going into predominantly Democrat territory.
Yeah, I'm a former Democrat myself. I was Democrat based on tradition, and so but the way in which we go in is the key. The message is very well accepted. And they love it because they can embrace conservative values by saying they're a Frederick Douglass Republican without using the word conservative. You follow me?
Yeah.
So you got to give them a way how they can. You got to give people, not just blacks now, because the left has demonized the word so badly. You got young people now who going off to college and they come back as little socialists and calling their conservative parents and grandparents racist. But they never heard the liberty message coming from Frederick Douglass. They've never been taught that. So you mentioned about this young man starting a Republican club in his school system. That's what we have to do. But most folks are very hesitant to engage because they don't know how to do it. They don't know what to say. And I found out 98% of conservatives fail when it comes to messaging and engagement. 98%, because 98% of them identify themselves as a conservative, and that's a non-starter.
That's true.
Well, not only that, I just saw this the other day. Act Blue, which is the big Democrat foundation, was formed in 2004, 19 years ago. And then I think it's, Vote Red is the other one. And that was brought out in 2019 or something. So it was just to point out,
we're late to the game.
Yeah. The Republicans are constantly late to that messaging. And whether it's the cheating in the election or just the ground game, the Democrats have always had that. And they're always in lockstep, where the Republicans and conservatives have to figure out that better way. Like what you're doing is talking to the people and explaining to them in the most common sense that you can. I mean, if they won't listen to the common sense, then you're never going to get through to them anyway. But
that's correct.
It's just actually getting in front of the people and telling them the truth.
Exactly right. And so what we have been doing over the past 15 years, we actually have a training program. We actually have an online course where we teach people this engagement strategy. Now, you mentioned my book. The book, it is not a dissertation on the political thoughts of Douglass. What it is a conservative action handbook that teaches liberty advocates how to engage. You got to know something about Douglass, of course. We get into the life of Douglass. We talked about why the word conservative has a racist connotation, and especially in the black community, that word conservative has become culturally ingrained to mean racist. Why is that the case? And then how do we overcome that? So we role play in the online course, in the book, we role play the engagement strategy. How do you, let me give an example. For your listening audience, once you understand our engagement philosophy, your homework assignment will be go home, talk to a friend or somebody that's a liberal that you've been trying to talk to all these years, and say to them, you know what? I'm not a conservative anymore. And let that marinate for a minute. Then you're going to come back and say, you see this card here, Frederick Douglass? I'm a Frederick Douglass Republican, and I believe everything that's on this card. Here, take it and read it. And the card I'm referring to, when you get a copy of our book, Frederick Douglass Republican, it comes with 5 engagement cards. So an engagement card is a 6x9 card that has quotes from Frederick Douglass regarding each of those 12 life empowering values: respect for life, respect for the U.S. Constitution, the belief in limited power of government, economic prosperity, free speech, women's rights in terms of the suffrage movement, not abortion now, legal migration. So it's a quote from Frederick Douglass on those values. When you give that to someone, that's when the awakening occurs, because most folks have never heard the liberty message based on the writings of a runaway slave, Frederick Douglass. And it's awakening. It just opens up their eyes. And now you have an opportunity to have a dialogue and a conversation and not a confrontation.
Definitely.
Awesome.
Yeah, it makes a huge difference. What made you choose Frederick Douglass in the beginning? Was it what you always had the history about him, or
No, not really, not at all.
found that he was the guy?
Oh no. It really, what happened was somebody sent a quote to me one time by Frederick Douglass. Frederick Douglass said on one occasion, he said, "I am a Republican." Now you guys know I was just became a conservative at that time. He said,
Yeah.
"I am a Republican, a black dyed-in-the-wool Republican, and I never intend to belong to any other party than the party of freedom and progress." And when I read that, I said, "Wait a minute, Frederick Douglass was a Republican? He was an Uncle Tom too?" Yeah, I was curious, why did Frederick Douglass say Freedom and Progress Republican Party in that quote, and he did not say Freedom and Progress Democrat Party? That's when I went on the reading binge. I read everything Douglass wrote. I read his 3 autobiographies. I read the selective writings of Frederick Douglass put together by Philip Fauner. I read Yale University Press writings of Douglass, the Douglass Papers. I went on an 18-month reading binge. I read every biography in print at that time. I became obsessed with his life, but also with his message of liberty. What Douglass said about the U.S. Constitution, what Douglass said about the 3/5 clause, all in those life empowering values I mentioned to you. When I read what Douglass had to say, it was like reading the Founding Fathers, but none of the Founding Fathers were slaves. I said, Douglass is a game changer. Now, here's something you're going to find interesting. As part of my research, I contend that Frederick Douglass is the answer to save America, and he is the answer to defeat Marxism. Nobody else comes close. When you contrast the lives of Frederick Douglass and Karl Marx, both Frederick Douglass and Karl Marx were both born in 1818.
Wow.
Okay? Karl Marx was born in Germany. In my view, Karl Marx is a poster child for white privilege. He never had a real job in his life. His father was an attorney. He married into money. On the other hand, Douglass was born into slavery for 20 years.
Yeah.
Karl Marx became a theorist about oppression. Douglass had real life experiences about oppression. Karl Marx was a revolutionist, and people were trained in Marxism want to tear everything up, including the Constitution, and start over. Douglass said on one occasion, Douglass said, "I'm not a revolutionist, I'm a reformer. Let's keep the best that we have, including the Constitution, and make life better. Just live by the Constitution," Douglass said. Karl Marx was an atheist. Karl Marx was an atheist. Frederick Douglass, an ordained Christian preacher. Karl Marx is all about government power. Frederick Douglass is all about our God-given rights. So there's a slide we have, or card we have. When you contrast the lives of Frederick Douglass and Karl Marx, and it says at the top of that card, "Who do you follow?" There's an awakening that happened with people who've been indoctrinated because they never heard the living message of Frederick Douglass. I test market that on some BLM members. Changed how they changed their mind totally. Couldn't have been taught that.
Really?
Good.
Bravo.
Yes.
Well, yeah, and that's the whole thing. When given it all in front of their face, they have to see it, and that was the whole point of what the left has been doing for decades now in the school system. When they don't teach it, people will never go out and seek it. That's why no matter what, even when I was younger, watching Glenn Beck used to say it all the time. He'd go on these huge tirades of talking about all these things in history and all of that, and at the end he would still say, "Go out and do your own homework. Actually read it." And if there were multiple tears, but but you have to do your own homework. And when you're able to put that literally this and that right in front of people's faces, they cannot deny truth about liberty and freedom. It's important.
But
and people who do not.
I'm sure in your last 13 years, you've ran into some people that, even though you could be talking to a group of people, 4 of them are all in, and there's one of them who's just ate up and still refuses.
And the one that's not all in, that's kind of would never accept it. Those are the ones who are making the Kool-Aid.
Oh yeah.
Okay, they're making the Kool-Aid for everybody to drink.
Yep.
So you can't worry about them, but you can engage and change the hearts and the mind of the 80%.
Sure.
And you don't need 80% to save this nation.
No.
If we can get 3 to 4% of people who vote Democrat to change how they vote permanently, especially in the black community, we'll break the Democrat parties back forever. So that's what we're doing. But it's not just this engagement strategy. It's not just a strategy on how to talk to black people. It's engagement strategy. It's a persuasive messaging model. How you can have a conversation and win the narrative with anyone, your family, your friends, people who may not look like you. It doesn't matter. It's unarticulate. Yeah. And Doug is the answer. That's the takeaway here. If we're serious about defending liberty, if we're serious about defending the Constitution, we must make Frederick Douglass an integral part of our liberty message. If not, we will not be able to defeat the propaganda attacks of the left. We will not be able to trump the race card. We'll not be able to win the narrative. We'll not be able to change hearts and minds. Douglass is the answer.
Exactly.
Awesome.
That's awesome. So you said you first kind of read into Douglass after you had already started to become conservative and Republican. What was the transition point for you from going from Democrat to Republican?
I realized I wasn't voting my values. It was really, for me, it was a spiritual transformation, or spiritual awakening, if you will. I was up one night reading 2 Corinthians 13:5. And in the Message translation, that scripture reads, examine yourself, make sure you're solid in the faith. Don't go along taking things for granted. Test yourself. You need firsthand evidence that Jesus Christ is in you. If you fail the test, do something about it. So at that time, I took the scriptures to heart and I started testing the way I was voting. And I realized I was voting the opposite of my Christian values. I don't believe in same-sex marriage, but I was voting for candidates who espoused that, because I was voting based on tradition and not based on my values.
Sure.
I was voting a certain way because of my mother and my father, not because of my values, my allegiance to God.
Yeah, you find that a lot with Democrats and Republicans.
Exactly right.
They both
White
the
and
their
black.
parents. Yeah.
Yep. Definitely.
So I realized that for me, I had to be accountable for my own way how I voted. I'm being honest with you. When I had that awakening, I went through 3 days of depression, because I knew by accepting the conservative tongue and labeling myself as a conservative, which I didn't have the Frederick Douglass piece back then, by saying I was a conservative, I was going to isolate myself from my family. I was going to be ostracized because that word had been demonized. That was tough. That's tough.
It is, because you allowed yourself to be in that entire world and to completely say it's wrong. I mean, and it takes a lot for somebody to admit that as well. It takes a lot for anybody to admit they were wrong about anything in life, let alone something as big as that.
Exactly right. And that was really it, because I said, I'm spitting in God's face because on base how I vote. I'm praising God on Sundays, but on Tuesday when I go to the voting booth, I'm voting the opposite of my worship. And that's when I talk about my book. God diagnosed me and told me I was a political schizophrenic. You crazy. You're crazy. And so I had to really think about, am I going to be a Christian champion or a political chump? And so I decided I was going to vote my values. And I got involved in the conservative movement, started using that label conservative, and then ran into another problem. I was an Uncle Tom. I was demonized. I said, there got to be an answer to this. And then God led me to read and study the ministry of the Apostle Paul. Apostle Paul, he was an outreach specialist, a diversity outreach specialist. I said, oh my God, this is the answer.
Right.
This is how we trump the race card, by understanding Paul's ministry and some aspects of it. And that's what we cover in our course.
Excellent. Good. Well, and I'm sure that, and there were reports of this when Trump was running for president the first time, that you would have these Democrats who were in the Democrat Party for so long, their friends, their family, all in that. but they would go to a Trump rally and see how nice everybody was, eventually turn to Trump and become a Republican, or at least a Trump Republican now, and then get completely ostracized. And the people that they thought loved them turned on them so fast. Even when conservatives disagree with Democrats, we
still get along.
We still can get along with them. Yes, we do try. So that
they might be talking behind my back,
right? But that hatred that is there in the Democrat Party is a true evil thing that it is hard for people to let go of as well.
And that's because in some cases the Democrat Party is a cult.
Yes.
Yep.
And if you try to break away from a cult, look, you're gonna get ostracized, and that's what it's like. And I'm talking from personal experience.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, you do. But but the left as a whole, that's why they go after religion. They want to be your only religion. Government is your God.
Yes.
Well, you're exactly right. And that's why I contend. That's why socialism and Jesus Christ cannot coexist. Because in order to bring in socialism, I got to make sure that you have no allegiance to anything that you view that is above me. God. So I got to get rid of God that's above me in your eyes. Get rid of him. So all you can do is look at me, and you depend on me. And you know what? Frederick Douglass wrote about that. Because why? The techniques of oppression used by the slave government are identical to the techniques of oppression used by the slave plantation owner. They're the same techniques. Yeah. And Douglas wrote about those things, and that kind of woke me up. And there's just a lot of things that Douglas said. The greatest writer, thinker, speaker about liberty and the U.S. Constitution is Frederick Douglass, and thank God we have his literary legacy that we can leverage to refute the lies and the false rhetoric of the left. Let me give you an example. If you go to the Democrat Party's website right now, and you scroll down, it's democrats.org. You scroll all the way down to the bottom, and they have a link that says Our History. All right? On their Our History page of the Democrat Party, the first sentence reads, if you have a problem with this, and I quote, for more than 200 years, our party has led the fight for civil rights.
I believe we have a picture of like Democrats then and like Democrats now. We can throw that up there, Sean.
So that's on their website.
Yeah, there it is. Yeah. They were all Democrats, including the little Fed boys that we know make up the Patriot Front there, quote unquote. Yeah. Nothing has changed.
Wow. No, it's just that. But if you don't know the truth, you can't recognize a lie. That's what they're counting on. So the reason why I say that's important, because 200 years ago, Douglas was alive during this 200-year span. So I think it was 1853, I believe, Douglas gave a speech entitled The Slavery Party. The slavery system. And the reason why I say his speech, Douglas wrote all his speeches out. So that's a blessing. We have Douglas' speech that we can read now. And Douglas said in that speech, he said, the best representation of slavery in politics is the Democratic Party. When I read that, and then I read what's on the Democrat Party's website, and I show it to people, they think, okay, what else are they lying to me about? Douglas is not lying. Exactly. You see why Douglas is important? Douglas is the answer. So to be a Frederick Douglass Republican, I don't know if I said this, to be a Frederick Douglass Republican has nothing to do with your skin color. It's about those values. It's not about color. It's about values. So based on the research I've done, you two guys, I'm talking to two Frederick Douglass Republicans right here.
There you go.
Exactly. There we go. Agree. And I appreciate you coming on and trying to convert more people, because that's what it's all about. It's about getting the word out to the right people and giving them the ammunition that they need to be able to.
That's right. That's why you got to take the online course. And you're going to like this. So the question is, how do you prove, K. Carl, that you're not a racist? Is that even possible? Yeah, it is. When you study the ministry of the Apostle Paul, I got to give you this. I don't know how much time I got left, but I got to give this to you. Okay, before the Apostle Paul became a champion of Christianity, he was also well known for being a bloodthirsty persecutor of the Christians. And that reputation preceded him. The Gentiles shook with fear when they heard Paul's name, because they know how he murdered Christians. Now, allow me to use my biblical imagination for just one moment. What do you think was some of the talk among the Gentiles about Paul? Because remember now, Paul was commissioned by God to take the gospel to the Gentiles. Paul went over there trying to get them to become Christians. Can you imagine some of the Gentiles sitting back and saying, look at Paul, that no good liar. He's calling himself a Christian evangelist. He's over here trying to get us to become Christians so he can kill us too. Think about it. So there's no denying that the Apostle Paul had a tremendous impact in the early growth of the church. He traveled throughout the Roman Empire, Asia Minor. He went with it to the Gentiles, right? So the question is, if Paul had that type of tremendous impact to change hearts and minds, how did he trump the race card?
Yeah.
How did he overcome the negative image that he was a racist? Because that's what they called him. That's sort of the same thing we got to deal with. How are we going to overcome the image that we're not racist? Paul did three things, and these are three things we have to do. Number one, what's the first thing that God did when he transferred Paul to a new person? He changed his name. He changed his name. He went from Saul to Paul. We got to change our name. The word conservative is not working. We got to use the moniker Frederick Douglass Republican because that's more appealing. That's more acceptable to those who want to engage in this country because the left has demonized it. The word Paul was more appealing to the Gentiles. The second thing, so he changed his name. We got to change our name. The second thing Paul did, he articulated his transformation. He didn't just quote Jesus Christ. He talked about how the teachings of the Christ made him a new man, made him a thinker. He was transformed into a new person. We got to articulate our transformation because even though you've never been a racist, you're guilty by association. You got to get people to think that you had a transformation. What's that transformation statement? I've been inspired by the life and writings of Frederick Douglass. I'm more than a conservative. I'm more than a Republican. I'm a Frederick Douglass Republican. You got to articulate your transformation. The third thing Paul did, he demonstrated his transformation. As I mentioned before, he traveled throughout the Roman Empire, Asia Minor. He was with the people he was supposed to be racist towards to help them improve their quality of life. We got to do the same thing. The best way to demonstrate your transformation that we have learned is to wear the message on your chest. So we have a series of Frederick Douglass Republican t-shirts that we are rolling out. The first one that's rolling out, we have a shirt. It's back in my room. I don't have it right here. I can show it to you. It says, Save America. Got an image of Frederick Douglass, okay? Got an image of Frederick Douglass. It says, Save America. I did it once. I can do it again. Frederick Douglass saved America once before. So if you go to my website, go to our store, you'll see the website on that. You see the shirt on that store. And my website is KCarl, KCarlinc.com. KCarlinc.com. So that's how I know the left has no answer for Frederick Douglass, and our engagement strategy that's based on Liberty Message of Douglass, outreach strategy of Apostle Paul, the diversity engagement strategy of Apostle Paul, and the outreach ministry of Jesus Christ. When you put the three together, unstoppable. The left has no answer for it.
Definitely. And we're gonna take a break to do our little music segment. So go grab that shirt and we can
do that right now.
Bring that up. Yeah. But so folks, if you're enjoying this show, let us know. Make sure you subscribe to the Rumble channel, subscribe to the YouTube channel. Go watch our episode with Dave Landau. It has almost hit 10,000 views on YouTube. So go check that out. And if you are subscribed on YouTube, thank you very much. But go take it over to Rumble.
10,000 people
because
put up with us.
I
just
know
to see him.
Exactly.
That's pretty cool.
It is cool. So make sure you grab, if you're on YouTube, subscribe, hit that like button, comment down below, but go take it over. There's the shirt. Nice. I like it. We'll go full screen on that in a minute. Yeah, look at that.
There
Save America.
Yeah.
Did it once. I can do it again.
I love that.
Love it. Oh, that's and what's the website?
And what you like about it? The U.S. flag is on the right sleeve. And on the left sleeve, it says the official Liberty attire of Frederick Douglass Republican.
Yes. And what's the website again?
KCarl is KCARL Inc. INC.com. KCarlinc.com. And when you get the shirt, now the shipping is included in the price of the shirt. The total price is $30, but the shipping is included. But also, what the game changer is, you will not only get a shirt, you will get a 6x9 engagement card that teaches you and explains to you what do we mean by when we say that Douglas saved America once before. So it teaches you how to talk the shirt.
Awesome.
That card comes with every shirt.
Yeah, because maybe some people don't know, he wrote a lot of speeches,
right.
but he gave those speeches in front of hundreds of Americans.
Exactly.
Yeah, and Douglas was an advisor to 5 Republican presidents: Abraham Lincoln, Ulysses S. Grant, James Garfield, Rutherford Hayes, and Benjamin Harrison. Lincoln said at one time that the United States was a house divided because of civil war. Who did Lincoln lean on as his consultant, if you will, to help save America? Frederick Douglass. He did it once.
Had to climb through the window.
Do it again.
Get into the White House.
That's right. Hey, I got a trivia question for you.
Oh, all right.
Frederick Douglass passed away in 1895. 1895. Yeah, 1895. He was 77 years old. He died of a massive heart attack. Mm-hmm. How much money do you think Douglass had in savings at the time of his death? Don't calculate the inflation dollars. I'll give you that in a minute. How much money do you think Douglass had in savings? Consider now, he was a slave for 20 years.
Mm-hmm. Well, yeah,
there was no retroactive pay.
Writer, he was getting paid for writing speeches, for giving speeches, I would imagine. I'm going to estimate at the time $10,000.
I'll
say $30,000.
$300,000 in savings. Because they didn't have income tax back then, right?
$300,000.
Yeah, right.
Today it's over $30 million. That's over $30 million today.
Yeah.
Wow.
So think about it. He was born into slavery, so he was a sub-0 percenter.
Right.
Because poverty is below slavery. Slavery is below poverty. He was on a plantation for 20 years, getting that free stuff. He was a 47 percenter, as Romney would say. Frederick Douglass died a 1 percenter.
Yeah.
So his life is inspiring, but his liberty message is what we got to leverage to win the narrative and awaken people about the value of liberty and the value of freedom in our U.S. Constitution by leveraging Douglass's his speeches and his writings.
Definitely. Well, I want to talk to you about a couple things, and we have our Patriot Trade of the Week. But before we do that, we got our music segment. But don't forget, folks, this show is sponsored by the Local Meat Club by Tyrone and Marcella Jackson, based out of Columbus, Ohio. You can go to localmeatclub.com using the affiliate link in the description of this video and use promo code FreedomCow, all caps, so they know that we sent you. Members can choose from locally raised, hormone-free beef, bacon, breakfast sausage, fantastic stuff. And you can pick up Tyrone's book, Life's Little Handbook, 7 Steps to Finding Success in Life, which explores some of life's most challenging questions. So join the club and experience the difference that fresh, life-supporting food makes. Use the link in the description, localmeatclub.com. Enjoy this song from this past weekend show, my band, Mike Imbasciani and his Blues Rockers. You may recognize this from the opening of the Blues Brothers movie. This is She Caught the Katy. Enjoy. There you go. Little She Caught the Katy. Good stuff. Love that from the Blues Brothers movie. And remember, folks, you can join the Locals community for this show. You can use the link in the description as well. Just go on Locals, download the free app, become a subscriber on the Locals channel. Just $5 a month. You can use promo code FreedomCow for 1 month free. Get exclusive content. Kenny finally was in his corner and had a rant. So that was a very good Kenny in the corner rant.
I've got another one prepared.
Very good. So you can check that out and become a supporter and get longer episodes. Like we had presidential candidate Steve Laffey for 2 hours on the show, and you can only find that on Locals. So make sure you become a subscriber today. It helps us out. So we got our Patriot and Traitor of the Week. So, K. Carl, who do you have as a Patriot of the Week?
Could I recommend 2 people for the Patriot?
Of course.
Go ahead.
Mike and Kenny. I want to appreciate what you all doing.
Oh, come on.
Thank you very much.
No, because we gotta have platforms like this where you can invite not just myself but other people who have a message that people need to hear. So it takes a special breed to do this. So I might tip my hat off to you and thank you for doing this and invite me on your show.
I appreciate that.
Now the obvious on the other side of that, I just look to the White House. I do not like what I see from this administration.
Traitor. Yes.
Yeah, I don't like it. You come in office, the first thing you do is get rid of the Keystone Pipeline where people are paying more for fuel. Yet you you sign a deal. You sign a deal with our enemies, with the Saudi Arabian countries to get oil. We don't need to do that. It's people say that socialist policy that they fail. No, they don't fail. They're working, but their failure, the policies are failure. So that's my vote for this: the Patriot and the Traitor.
Hey, I appreciate it, and thank you very much. Well, and to go over what you said, it's to us. I saw my uncle the other day who came down from New York, and we were talking about this show, and Trump was doing his CNN town hall, and he said, "Well, you're brave for doing this," and I don't feel brave for doing this. I feel this is what more people should be doing. It's standing up for what's right. It's getting the word out there to the people that need to hear it, and more people need to stand up. So
I think
not about
that
me or Ken or anybody. It's about everybody coming together as Americans.
I think that's what's key, and that's our focus for our online course, is to empower individuals to become successful in engaging just within their own families.
Yes.
And that's where you got to start. So, but they don't know how. But if you want to learn how, there's a shameless plug. Come to my website, check us out. We have the answer. We have a 98% success rate. Once you leverage and understand how to leverage this engagement philosophy, it's 98% successful. But you got to know how to do it. You got to know what words to use, what words you should not use. You got to know to get rid of the word conservative. I encourage you, when you come to my website at kcarinc.com, listen to the Rush Limbaugh audio that's on the homepage, where you find out in 2018, Rush made these comments. I've been doing this since 2008, and you're going to quickly discover that Rush Limbaugh agreed with me. As a matter of fact, 9 months before this audio that you will hear, I got a call from the show telling me about they're watching me. We like what you're doing. Keep it up. Check it out. Fantastic. This is what Rush Limbaugh had to say.
I love that. That's amazing.
Awesome.
Ken, who is your Patriot of the Week?
Don't I get my traitor first?
Patriot first, then you can go into your traitor. Since K. Carl did both already.
You can't nominate yourself.
Yeah, right. I really like me.
I'm just I would have to say Mark Levin, really, just his vindication through what we saw through the Durham report, and really there's a lot of things that I don't necessarily agree with Levin on, but he has been at the forefront of this again since the beginning, and a lot of other people then climbed on board and saw it for what it was. It's been nothing but a sham.
Yes.
And so I know he takes a lot of heat from both sides of the aisle, but I admire his work and I admire the man.
Very good. Yes. And your traitor?
My traitor would be the 51 individuals, I'm being kind, who signed off on the letter claiming that Hunter's laptop was nothing but a Russian conspiracy with
Yes.
and that Trump was some big traitor. All 51 of them, plus that would have to include the entirety of the Biden administration too, and the mainstream media. Again, like the Washington Post, those journalists are still sticking to the lie.
Oh yeah,
yeah. Narcissistic liars always stick with the lie. They always maintain it. They still to this day maintain that it was Russian collusion, and they're not going to give back the Pulitzer.
No, of course not. Nope. My Patriot goes out to Donald J. Trump. I'm going to give it to him because it just shows that everything that they have tried attacking him with has been lies, and he is truly a patriot trying to save the nation. And it's just coming out more and more. Even CNN had to admit that, this kind of does exonerate Trump.
But there's so many who aren't. There's so many who are look at Schiff.
He's still will never. They'll still never give an inch. And my trader
they'll never give an inch.
Yeah. No, they never will. My trader goes out now. Marketing firms just have learned nothing since Bud Light, have they? And this isn't even alcohol. This is a gun company, gun maker, Heckler and Koch, H&K. I mean, the MP5, nothing like that slap down,
Well, I would like to suggest that we're talking about a German gun manufacturer here, so they're not American by any stretch of the imagination.
But on Monday here, Graham Allen tweeted that the Miller Lite commercial expressing his shock that Miller Lite appeared to repeat Bud Light's mistake, tweeting out, "Did nobody learn from Bud Light's costly mistake?" Well, now, later on Monday, Heckler and Koch responded to Graham's tweet by expressing their support for not using quote-unquote bunnies to sell beer or guns. Responding to accusations, they doubled down on Tuesday. They doubled down on Tuesday, responding to accusations that they have become woke by giving a detailed explanation of their opposition of objectifying women. Quote, "Wow, woke, allow me to translate. Objectifying women was never a good marketing strategy. In the firearms industry, that was a prominent strategy up until recently. Many industries have done that, including beer corporations." As an actual woman typing this, I'll use more words for you to comprehend. Using bunnies to sell products is trash marketing. Supporting women by not doing that is good. Well, what happened today? H&K deleted all of those tweets, which means a higher up saw this rogue person in their marketing department and said,
do you know once they started using women in gun ads, how many women started buying guns and getting into exercising their Second Amendment right? And the string bikini with the AK, okay, I'll grant you a little over the top, right? But at the same time,
but you bought the AK, didn't you?
That's it.
Allegedly. But no, it's just ridiculous. Go woke, go broke, and it just is absolutely.
But again, German gun manufacturer,
not
an American gun.
Yes, very true. We have a couple minutes left. I want to go into this story that I have, if I can find it. Oh yeah, Tucker Carlson lists Fox News primetime loses to MSNBC Monday. So it's just showing again, go woke, go broke. You fire the best person that you have. And Charlie Kirk, this happened. This was breaking news just before we started recording the episode. Charlie Kirk tweeted this out. Breaking, according to Drudge, Fox News will move Sean Hannity to the 8 p.m. Eastern slot to replace Tucker, followed by Jesse Waters at 9, and they're moving Greg Gutfeld to 10. There is no indication on the network's plans for Laura Ingraham and Trace Gallagher. Now, of course, Benny Johnson had this to say: "Remember, how we take down the deep state is to wear FBI and CIA pins on air every night."
Yeah.
Pay attention, folks. And
Sean fan. Well, and also let's also remember who owns Dominion and who owns Fox.
Yeah,
a lot of the same people.
Exactly. And we had this one too. Breaking: Hannity in 2040. Deep state indictments coming next week.
Let your heart not be troubled.
Let your heart not be troubled. Throw the football. There it is. Yeah. But okay, Carl, any final thoughts on media and how you're trying to get your word out in the I mean, coming on this show, we appreciate it. Thank you. How else are you trying to get your word out to people?
It's word of mouth, of course. Social media, we got to pick up and do some things with that. but it's mostly just leveraging conservative, liberty-minded affiliate groups through social media. I travel across the country and I speak. So that's basically what we're doing, because I was advisor to Trump for 2 years with Black Voices for Trump. So we got some ways to get it out there. And the time is right. I think the left has gone so far left. Because I just read a study came out. It was a poll. Washington Post, ABC News poll came out a couple of months ago, maybe a month and a half ago, and found out and said that 71% of Americans believe our nation is going in the wrong direction toward a woke culture.
Yep.
So that includes some Dems. Okay. But the question is, we got to have a messaging strategy that can resonate with them and get them to change how they vote and to identify themselves differently without using the word conservative so they don't have the pushback. And so we continue to hit it hard, man.
When you come to Florida.
When you coming down?
I just left. I was in Miami last week.
Sure.
I was down in Miami, and I'm scheduled to go to Florida again. I think sometime next month. I think in your area,
Southwest Florida. Yeah,
I think that's where I'll be, down in Sarasota, in that area in general.
Okay, we're just south of Sarasota.
Away, Love to get you on my show. I do a radio show.
Okay, we'll talk about that. Yeah,
fantastic.
Request today, come down here.
Yeah,
outstanding. Appreciate it, guys.
Smith. Yes, thank you. Go get his
do.
book, Frederick Douglass, Republicans, the Movement to Reignite America's Passion for Liberty, and go check him out. Go check out the Frederick Douglass Republican Engagement Strategy. Go get his T-shirt. Yeah, it's very good. We're working on T-shirts. Little hints. We're working on some T-shirts. We have some ideas.
Do we?
So I have ideas. Folks, thank you for watching. Greatly appreciate it. Remember, subscribe to the Rumble page. Subscribe to the YouTube channel. All that. Freedom is the way. From the bunker. Good night, everybody.
You're watching Conservative Television of America, working hard to stick socialism where the sun don't shine.